Hi green lovers, it's the middle of summer and I am here with a quick midsummer tip for you on how to give your kale and brassicas a brand new lease on life and have them put forth some vigorous growth that you can take advantage of for the rest of the season. Coming right up. Now here's some kale that I featured in a video earlier in the season. I've got some dazzling blue kale here, I've got some red Russian kale, I've got some curly kale, but as you can see the plants are looking kind of leggy, the leaves are getting kind of small, and they're not exactly thriving anymore. Kale and brassicas for the most part are cool weather crops and they do not thrive in my California dry, hot summers. So what I have developed over the years is a technique to really give them this new lease on life, and it involves a really hard prune, and I'm going to show you exactly how I do that. So this kale plant, you can see that I have trimmed it off at the top. It was developing a flower spike. Kale does tend to continue to force out flower shoots if you just trim off the ones that are bolting already. So what you're trying to do here is to actually have it forget that it was trying to produce flowers. And the way that you do that is you cut it off as close to the base as possible. Now don't be afraid to do this. I know it sounds a little drastic, but I'm going to show you what it's going to look like in a month or so after you do that. So that plant is gone, and what this has done now is it has tricked this plant into believing that it is pretty much done for. And what is going to happen now is that new kale plants are going to be growing from this little stub that is still left in the ground here. So let me show you what it looks like in about, I'd say it's going to take a month and a half for it to get some vigorous growth going, but once it does, you will absolutely be thrilled with the results. So this here is a curly kale that I did exactly what I just showed you. I cut it off as close to the base as possible. What I wanted you to take a look at is the fact that it is growing multiple plants, not just one plant. This is the original stem and these are little branches, and actually they're completely new plants that are growing from the root. And look at that gorgeous growth. This kale is fresh, young, vibrant, and it is so tasty. Even through summer, you're going to be able to eat great kale if you use this method of taking it down, giving it that sharp prune when you see it starting to look a little bit not so great anymore. I want to show you some other brassicas that I did the same thing to, and I was actually kind of surprised at how they also came back. So this glorious patch of different kinds of brassicas, these are growing out of plants that are 2 years old. Now you probably know, some of you at least, that kale and brassicas, most brassicas are biennials, which means that the first year they grow lots of leaves, the second year they produce flowers, and they go to seed and their life is done. But because I cut these down, and again, this is a great example because you can see the stub of the original plant, and then you can see all these new plants that have grown. These are all brand new plants. And what I don't know, and I'm going to find out, and if you know, please leave a comment below, is if they're actually going to produce a new head of cauliflower or broccoli. In this particular case, these are Brussels sprouts. These new plants, which I think are actually brand new plants, will they produce Brussels sprouts, you know, and give me almost like a second lease on Brussels sprouts without having to plant new plants every year? So let me know in the comments below what you think. This, I believe, is probably also Brussels sprouts. This is, I think it's some sort of a sprouting broccoli or broccoli rabe or something like that. I don't even remember. It's been 2 years since I got these planted, but I'm just loving this. And even if it doesn't produce a head of whatever, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, broccoli, etc., even if it's just the leaves, I consume these leaves in my green smoothies, and so does my son. We consume a lot of greens, and this fresh, beautiful growth is just so encouraging. I'm going to show you one more plant that this happens to, and it is not a brassica. This here is a Swiss Chard plant. This is a bright light Swiss Chard, and I did, again, exactly the same thing. I cut it down to the base and it produced these glorious, beautiful leaves. I'm going to show you 2 examples of where I did not do this and how the plant looks. All right, so this here is an identical plant to the one that I just showed you. I just kind of let it go, and this is the 2nd year, and as you can see, it has gone to seed. And I'm leaving it this way because I actually want to save seeds from this plant, and I want to give some seeds for the birds to eat. So this plant is unbelievably exactly the same plant as the one that I just showed you. At least it's the same batch, and this is what it looks like. Let me show you yet another. So this is another bunch of Swiss Chards, and what I've been doing on this, just to show you a little bit of a different spin on this, is I've been trimming off these flower shoots as they've been bolting. I've been going down as close as possible and just trimming off the flower shoots, not messing with the plant, just trimming off the flower shoots. And what ends up happening is it just continues to produce side shoots and just continues to try to bolt. The side shoots have really, really tiny leaves. You can see in this example, all of these are that way. And what it's going to do is it's going to continue to try to produce these flower spikes. And that is because I have not killed off the main plant. It still thinks that it's the original plant, and so it is going to try and force itself to go to flower. No matter what you do, it's going to keep trying to bolt. So I would suggest just cut it off right at the base so that it forgets its age and it starts off again as a new plant. I hope you found this helpful, folks, and if you would hit that like button, it sure would help get this video around to a broader audience. And until next time, enjoy your greens and live green and love your greens.